Hi, everybody. Dom Tiberi here, joined by Timmy Hall. You hear him daily on the Buckeye Show from when to when?
6 to 8 on most nights.
6 to 8 on most nights. And I got a feeling you will be talking this week about the Ohio State-Michigan game. Obviously, did not go the way that everybody was hoping for. But we can debate that at a different time. What I want to talk about is the scene that happened after the game. Okay. And it was embarrassing. The brawl that broke out, the Michigan players tried to plant the flag, and the Ohio State players said, no, you're not doing that. Just overall thoughts on what happened after the game. It's embarrassing. You hate to see something like that happen, and a police officer was injured. You just hate that.
It's this thing that's sort of taken over college football, right? I mean, you saw clips of it happening all over the country. It was in the Florida State game. It was in the North Carolina NC State game. I just think we have, not to bury the lead here, it begins and ends with the game, right? It's about the football game, and Ohio State first has every opportunity and every chance to protect its home field on the field of play by winning the game and stopping the 3-game losing streak. That, I want to be abundantly clear, is thing number one. But since this happened, and just the human being in me, I've always just had a problem. Dom, I don't know how many conversations we've had about this through the years, but I've always had a problem of we go to a football game, we can just not act civil anymore. Like, I'm talking about like fans in the stands too. Like when I take my son to a college football or NFL game, stuff like that has always bothered me. Just behavior of people with the language and just how you're just going to act to your fellow human being. And I think at the end of football games now, and just with where we are with, it's a fine line because trash talking on the field of play, that's being chippy.
Part of the game.
I think, right. I think it's part of the game. It's like, you do it to me, I'll do it back to you, that type of stuff.
And that's gone on forever.
It's gone on forever. But some of this stuff, I think, with the, we even had a guy, I can't remember if it was in the Ohio State-Michigan game or it was another game that I was watching, because it happens so much now, but people mimicking, shooting a gun, that's something that's got to go away. And they're they're throwing personal foul flags every time. And I'm fine with that. Get that the heck out of the game.
Well, that happened in the Michigan State game.
Yeah, it did. It did happen in that game. So get that out of there.
Here's what I will say. And now, there's talk about the legislation maybe to make a rule change saying that is illegal. I think they should. I mean, there's too much at stake. You've got these players that the last thing you need to do is get someone injured in a brawl. How about if Will Howard got injured in a brawl with the stupid flag?
Right, he already took a bad enough hit in the game, right?
I mean, so I think they do need the legislation. I know Baker Mayfield said, "Hey, it's part of the game. He planted the flag here. Let the boys be." It's what we saw Saturday cannot happen. Where there's players getting pepper sprayed, and it was
reporters getting pepper sprayed,
and it was out of control.
One of our own, our stringer Stephanie Odie, got pepper sprayed out there.
You're talking about players that in most cases are in pads, in helmets. The other people down there were not in pads and were not protected, and it just was a recipe for a disaster. And I think the NCAA or whatever, they need to enforce a rule saying, all right, the flag planting stuff's over. You agree?
I do. And how about the fact that they tried to circle back and do it a second time? And that's when Jack Sawyer obviously had enough, and the videos have gone viral, as you guys have all seen. But it just, to me, like, I don't understand how the level of disrespect goes that far. Like, that's what you're talking about. Like, again, I'm all for some trash talking. I'm all for some of the stuff that goes on. I'm not a huge fan of how we seem to almost be teaching our young people how taunting is the way to go and belittling your opponent. Class is almost something, God, I sound old right now. I'm a 40-year-old man, and I'm starting to sound like my own father, right? But I do believe in some of this stuff where you want to win with class, you want to do things the right way. I don't think this matters too, I don't think Ohio State planted a flag in Norman, Oklahoma. to warrant that being reciprocated. I don't think they did any of that. I think that was just Baker. They won the game here, and he planted the flag, started something. But it is. And we had Michael Bennett, who you know, defensive tackle, played at Ohio State. He was on our postgame show with me and Beam on Saturday. He had a line for the ages. He said, Timmy, if that happened and I was out there, I'm going to jail. I couldn't even believe it. Like that, he said that. He said 21 years. Michael Bennett's a lawyer, for goodness sakes. He said 21-year-old me, where my frontal lobe's not fully developed, someone does that, there's only a certain level of disrespect that you can stand when you already are feeling embarrassed enough. You lost that game. You know there's probably going to be bigger ramifications that come from that loss, and then they're going to do that on your field. There's something about like the midfield. It goes all the way back to Terrell Owens doing it on the Star, right, in Dallas. It's like the logo in the middle of an NHL locker room in the clubhouse, right? You don't walk on that. You don't go onto somebody else's midfield logo. You don't even go on there and go up there and dance, let alone take one of your giant 15-foot flags that the band brings and plant it there? Oh, my goodness.
What I worry is there used to be, you think about Bo and Woody, and there were things that happened. I remember when Ohio State ran out of the tunnel in Ann Arbor and ripped down the sign they put up. I mean, there's been stuff that has happened over the years that makes this rivalry what it is. There was always a respect, though, between the two programs. Always a respect. And Timmy, I quite frankly don't know. It just seems so visceral right now. And it's like, the Michigan coaches started, a couple years ago where you had Jim Harbaugh saying Ryan was born on third base and they're soft and they're weak and they're all this stuff.
Yeah.
And just taking, running their mouths and whatever. I never heard that kind of talk really before, and I just think it's turned this rivalry into something that, there used to be respect. I don't know if there's any respect.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of respect. I believe that in a lot of sports that's going by the wayside, more than it used to be. But what's your take on this, Dom? I mean, we agree that the flag planting is a bit ridiculous. Like, enjoy your win.
Needs to go away.
Enjoy your win. You want to plant your flag on your home field? Like, when you win the game and you're at home, you want to go and plant the flag right in the middle, let them know this is your spot, you won. But what about...
They knew what they were doing.
Let me ask you this, though. So they do that. We agree that stinks. It's not a good look. If you're Ohio State, do you just swallow the pill and not engage because... It takes two to tango there. You know what I'm saying? It's tough.
You just answered it. You're dealing with young men, and it's hard. And so you don't, because of what we witnessed, you get a rule, and it can't happen again. It's got to end because you know what? That was ugly, and it could have been a whole lot uglier.
It just was a surreal scene because you have Ohio State players engaging. They're really ticked off. They're upset. They're embarrassed.
The Michigan guys are rubbing it in their face.
They're rubbing it in their faces. The imagery, too, of Ryan, of Coach Day, where he just, the cameras catch him, and I think you can see him uttering the words, what happened? And he's so close to Jack Sawyer when Jack Sawyer is F-bombing left and right and losing his literal mind.
Yeah.
It just was not a good look for anyone.
No.
I don't come away from this like fist pumping and saying like, yeah, like good for Ohio State for being prideful. I don't feel that way. I don't feel good about what Michigan did. I don't feel good about how Ohio State reacted. I don't feel good about any of it.
No, it was.
I really don't.
It really was an ugly scene. Do me a favor, folks. Keep it on 10 TV, 10 TV Plus, 97.1 all day. This man. The Buckeye Show, 6 to 8 most nights. We will see you later.